This is the Focus Aventura S 1.0, and that S stands for speed. As you can see, I've actually got two of the different frame styles here. There is the kind of a step through, and they call this a trapeze, and then there's the high step, which is diamant, which is like diamond. So whether you're someone who's willing to kind of throw your leg up and over that top tube and maybe over the rack in the back, or someone who wants something that's a little bit easier to mount, or maybe if you wear a dress or a skirt or something, you can kind of pass through a little bit on the front there. I think this is traditionally like the men's version, the women's version. They do come in a few different sizes. So the step through comes in like an 18 and a 19.7. They call that small and medium. And then this diamond or high step comes in a 19.7, 21.7, and 23.6 inch, and that's really the measurement of that seat tube right there that I'm giving you. And for them, that's medium, large, and extra large. So there's really, a lot to kind of adjust to get this feeling perfect, and that's awesome because this thing is capable of really going the distance in terms of range and also speed. It can go up to 28 miles per hour in pedal assist mode. There really isn't a throttle like in the traditional sense on these bikes, so you will be pedaling actively the whole time, and it's really set up to be kind of comfortable. As I said, the frame size, the frame style, but also if you look at these grips, these are high quality grips with like locking ends so they don't twist. There's a little bit of adjustability here obviously in the seat tube, but if you look at that saddle, it's pretty fancy. Like it's kind of got that longer, narrower nose, definitely more active. This is the kind of bike that you'd want to pedal along and perhaps go up to 100 miles per charge. That's what they estimate here, and that's because this thing has an awesome 17 amp hour, 36 volt mid-mounted battery pack, and it's powering a mid-drive motor system. So you combine the two of those things, you really get a lot of efficiency, because as you change gears in the back, the motor's benefiting. And then of course the battery chemistry is lithium ion. So these batteries are lightweight, they're energy dense, and it's just enormous in terms of size. Maybe before I get too much further on that topic, I should talk about kind of the wheels and how everything is set up with the gearing. So these are 700 by 38C. That's a 28-inch wheel. It's kind of the size of a road bike. And if you look at the tires, they're kind of medium-sized, sort of that hybrid tread. So again, very efficient. The drivetrain actually uses this Gates Carbon Drive CDX. So this is the fancier new version of their belt. You can see there's kind of a cut down the middle, and that is kind of aligning with this front chain ring or belt ring, and it helps it to keep straight, right? The older belts could maybe go side to side, and this is really their newer, fancier version. On the front, we've got 46 teeth, and on the rear, we've got 22. And inside, this is actually an internally geared hub. So you can see Inter 11, Shimano Alfine. So this is an 11-speed geared hub, and you can actually switch it when you're standing still, but it's got this traditional trigger shifter. You can push forward or back on that knob there. Really like it. You've even got the little heads-up display of which gear you're in. So very clean and easy to use in terms of shifting gears. If you look at the belt, I mean, this thing rides very quietly. It reduces the weight, and there isn't like grease and stuff like you'd have to deal with on a traditional chain. So it gets to be super tight because there isn't a derailleur or anything. That's all kind of built into the geared hub, and it just makes it very, very streamlined. But I've noticed that these tend to be a little bit heavier than if you were using traditional cassette, with like just the blades. And it's not a huge trade-off. These bikes are still relatively light. What we've got over here in the high step version is a size large, and I weighed it a little bit earlier, and it was 54 pounds. Considering this thing has a suspension fork, it is an air fork with remote lockout, so you can adjust that on the fly. Pretty sweet, almost like overkill, but it just means you don't have to like lean forward and adjust it. Really, really a nice upgrade. Considering it has the suspension fork, the lights, the fenders, the rear rack, the upgraded battery, 54 pounds is not bad in my opinion. That's actually pretty good. And the battery pack here weighs about 6.5 pounds. The motor, I'm told, weighs about 8.4. Maybe in that 9-pound range. I couldn't really take it off and weigh it, but that sounds about right to me. you know, when you think about Bosch or some of these other drive systems. It's a pretty good setup. And again, this is Impulse 2 350 watt speed drive, so it is going to go faster than some of the other Impulse systems that are only 250 watts. Whew. Okay, so we got pedals here that are aluminum alloy. They've got kind of plastic and rubber. Decent. You know, I kind of like the Welgo ones that have like nice adjustable knobs on them so you get better grip. Adjustable kickstand, really nice right there. Magura hydraulic disc brakes, 160 millimeter rotor in the back, 180 millimeter rotor in the front. Quick release on the front, not on the rear. And you know, I guess, you know, that means you'd need like traditional tools to get that off, and maybe that's because they've got a internally geared hub. I'm not really sure. That's something I think about when you're way out on the road, though, because, you know, if you get a flat, you might have to, you know, do some work on it, or if your spokes are coming loose, or you have to retrue your wheel or something like that. Some of these problems really require you to go to a shop. But one of the things I love about this setup is that not only do they have a really nice rear rack capable of holding 25 kilograms, which is about 55 pounds. That's awesome. Not only is there a great rack, it's got pannier blockers on the side so your bags won't rub on the wheels and stuff. And look at this, it's got like a built-in little pump, mini pump. Okay, so if you were running low on air, you know, you're feeling the tires getting sort of soft, maybe you have a puncture, you can kind of pump that up and hopefully get to your next destination where there are tools where you can service the wheel. That's great. Some people put slime in the tires and stuff. I can't say one way or another, you know, how effective that is. I used to use it when I was younger, and the idea is that it kind of fills in any sort of punctures temporarily, and you can kind of fill it back up with air, and it's supposed to hold the air. That might be an option, again, because this is designed to be useful in longer range riding conditions. One of the other things that's really useful about this frame is that you can see here on the low step they've got bottle cage braze-ons right there. So that's really great. You could put a bottle there, you could put a lock, maybe another pump, although again, they've already covered that for you. And then on the high step, look at this. They've got the down tube has got holes, and the seat tube has holes. And this is what I'm talking about. So many electric bikes have none, and I'm always like, why don't they put them right there on the seat tube? Like, you know, you get thirsty. It's a hot day. I'm actually here at Small Planet e-bikes in Dallas, Texas, and so of course, you know, sun is shining, you're getting hot, and it's nice to be able to bring water. Okay, so up here, looking at kind of the cockpit area, got this funky bell. I've really only seen it on these European bikes from like Kalkoff and Focus. Got the little adjuster dial thing here, those great grips, and then the hydraulic brake levers. These do not have a motor inhibitor, but this is a really fancy drive system that's measuring your speed, your torque, and your cadence. So, you know, you really don't need them on a bike like this as much, and that's kind of nice. The display, real easy to read, front and center. It is backlit, and it's actually mounted to the stem. If you can kind of see that, and that's pretty neat. It does swivel, so there's a little bit of adjustability. And I noticed this one has a silver bezel, whereas the step-thru has a black bezel. Again, these are 2015 bikes that I'm looking at here. I did also want to mention the seat tube. This is 31.6 millimeter by 350. So if you decided that you wanted even more support, you wanted to get a thud buster or some other sort of suspension seat post, you could do that. You could replace that, and that would smooth out the ride a little bit more. I do really love the air suspension that they've gone with, not only because it's light and it's got that remote lockout, but because it's just really well matched. You know, it blends in nicely. They've kind of matched the branding here to the rest of the bike with those blue and gray highlights and stuff. So this is RST Pulse Air RL. Just nice stuff, like all around. Very high quality. I want to call out also this nice chain guard. We've got a little bit of a bash guard right there, and even kind of a guide that's sort of keeping that belt straight. Really nice to have. And because this is sort of a speed pedelec, in Europe they have different requirements, which is you have to have a license plate. So they've got a little license plate mount, and they usually give you like a bar end mirror. I think it has that. I was surprised to see that this kickstand doesn't have the automatic, you know, kick up, which I kind of like. You know, I prefer to kick my kickstand, whoop, like that. But a lot of the other bikes, like the Specialized Turbo or Stromer ST2, they have the automatic kick up. I don't think that's a requirement in the US. A lot of times these companies just import their European bikes, but again, with 350 watts, this is an upgraded version. Very cool. And these are B&M, like Lumitech LED lights, front and rear. I did want to get a shot of those. I noticed that the the light on the front is mounted to the suspension fork, so as you're going, it might have more movement. It does add some unsprung weight versus being mounted to the sort of the steering tube or the handlebars or something. But you know, it's very nice. It's adjustable angle and everything, and the fenders are plastic. They've got these really nice, they feel really solid, like when I've been riding. Good stuff there. And I like that they've got the reflective sidewall stripes on the tires, and you know, maybe there's opportunity to put like a reflector on the carrying rack or something, but the lights kind of have reflectors built in, and they've even got extra threaded eyelets on the rear here for where you could maybe add your own rack someday if you wanted to, or just experiment. There's a lot of adjustability, and this is where the frame, they actually had to kind of break the frame to get these belts on, because unlike a chain, you can't connect it. It's like always, it's one piece, so the frame actually has to be custom engineered to get something like this. And it's really, you know, it's neat to see. These bikes are about $5,000 MSRP, and in my opinion, that's a pretty decent price point, like considering the high speed and all the extras and everything. You know, there are a lot of like Bosch powered bikes, which is the other kind of leading mid-drive that I cover, and they go for like $4,000 at the lowest. Okay, so for an extra $1,000, you're getting like the Speed Pedelec, a bigger battery pack, because the Bosch is like 36 volt, 11 amp hour. This is 3617. You're still getting good weight distribution, and you know, some of those other extras, just the frames being really nice. I did want to show off the charging platforms here. This is about 1.5 pounds. This is sort of the, you know, standard wall. You plug it in. It doesn't have grounding, which is kind of interesting. Might make it easier to use in some cases. And then you just plug this right into the battery pack. If we come over here, kind of see, there it is. So there's a little spot where you'd plug it in, this little silver thing. It's kind of nice. Or if you're someone who wants to take the battery off, take it inside, you just twist that key, sort of slides out from the side like that. Very nice. Look at that, really cool. And again, only 6.5 pounds. It's not too bad. They've got this little base station, and this weighs about, I don't know, it's like 2.5 pounds. But if you had this set up inside, basically you use this charger, kind of plugs into that, and now you've got somewhere to keep your battery that sort of looks cool and keeps it upright from getting scratched and stuff, and then it sort of charges up and down. They've even got that little LED charge indicator on the side, so you've got, you know, a quick idea of whether or not it's full or not. So good stuff. You know, neat that they have those extras, and I like that they've got kind of a metal cap on this, because sometimes you drop the charger like that, you know, and it can get messed up. So they've really thought this through. Okay, there we go. And there we go. You don't have to leave the keys in when you're riding or anything. It's really nice. Okay, so I brought the bike into a little bit of a darker area, and you can see the display a little bit better. I hit power right here, and I love that the ring is backlit. That's really cool. The first thing you see here is speed. We've got our battery charge level indicator. The lights are on right there. And then it's sort of talking about, I guess, how far we've gone. It's interesting that this set button, it really helps you navigate a bunch of different display outputs. So we've got our cadence, our pedal assist, assistance level, tour cost, and trip cost. This is really cool. You can actually program your fuel cost, like the electricity, and then it approximates how much you've been spending to ride this thing. It's very cool. Overall savings, and see, it's in euros right now, which is kind of interesting. And then it talks about how many kilograms of CO2 you've offset by riding your bicycle. So it's very sort of eco-conscious in that way, and I really like that. Overall distance, and then your trip time, max trip speed, okay, tour, very cool. And actually, if you hold set, you can get to some awesome, like, different, I guess, adjustment features in the back end here. So drive data, we can delete all of our data, go down here to personalize, so you can name your bike and do some favorites. Target cost, this is the fuel price thing that I was talking about earlier, power cost. So again, you put your fuel costs like in petrol, and then your electricity costs, and it's sort of helping to give you some idea of you know, what kind of money you're saving, and that's just awesome. You can also adjust the display, the brightness, all of those standard things, as well as the wheel size. It's neat to have that kind of control, but it, you know, it is buried a little bit and so it kind of stays out of the way day to day when you're riding. Really what you're working with is just the plus and the minus, and again, super easy to reach, very just streamlined, built in. If we go up, the first level is Eco, and look at this, it's estimating our range right here at 167 kilometers on Eco mode, and so that's based on how full the battery is, which is, this is a pretty full battery pack right now. So again, that's over 100 miles for the American viewers. Sport, 94 kilometers, Power, 67, and then Sport Power, that's like the highest, you know, that's where you're gonna hit those 28 mile per hour top speeds. Also, one of the things you can adjust in here is how quickly it responds to shift sensing. So I think this has like a physical shift sensor in it, and as you're pedaling, of course it shuts off the motor temporarily so that you're not adding stress to either the gears or, in this case, the belt drive and that internally geared hub. So enough said, I'm gonna go ahead and hop on this thing. You'll probably see some glare out there because it is a shiny display, but you know, that's what's nice, being able to angle it forward and backwards. We got the kickstand up. Thanks, you guys. Okay, out into the daylight. Just gonna hop right into the traffic. Whoa, you definitely notice it. It immediately takes off. Pretty responsive too. It almost sounds a little quieter than the Bosch system, in my opinion. The Bosch is just higher pitch, and you know, it has a smaller front chainring, so it's spinning faster. It's more of a wee versus roar, and I guess to me, I noticed that a little more. Also, I'm at a stop here, but if I push down, there was a little bit of a, you know, it was trying to take off on me a second ago. Now that I'm, you know, I'm holding the brakes and I'm clearly not moving, the bike is very stable. So I'm gonna start from rest. Very smooth with those hydraulic disc brakes. Big fan of that. I'm gonna maybe shift some gears here. Definitely noticeable that the motor is cutting out, and you know, Bosch does that too, but I like that you can kind of adjust how quickly it's happening, because I think that's gonna save you over the long term on wear. There we go. The belt drive is just super quiet. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off assist now and then just pedal with this with no power so you can hear that. And it's just silent. I can hardly hear it. It's really nice. Just really peaceful. Okay, back up to Eco. Just get a little bit of a boost here. There we go. slowly up to sport, power. Yeah, it's great. It's a really nice setup. And I meant to mention earlier that those big nubs at the end of the brake levers, that's also a Euro requirement for Speed Pedal X. So I think that's kind of it. That's the Aventura S 1.0 from Focus. Pretty awesome bike. Again, $5,000. Kind of everything that you need for maybe a distance sort of city commuter type of thing, or maybe even a little bit of touring. For the full write-up on this, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. If you get this bike, you want to share a video response, maybe I missed something, there's a lot to this bike. It's really feature-rich. Go ahead and, just leave a comment or a video response, or maybe I'll catch you in the forums or something. Ride safe.